He waved. He brought over beers. He seemed like the nicest guy on the road. He was also running a kidnapping operation out of his basement. The film opens in the dark on a dirt road somewhere in rural Mississippi. A car crawling along without its headlights, hugging the edges of the road the way people do when they are carrying something they do not want anyone to see. The car pulls up at a carriage in the dark. A man steps out and closes the doors behind him. His name is John. He is a drug runner. Not a kingpin, not even close. He is a courier for his Uncle Neil, a small-time criminal operator who runs his business out of a farm compound on the edge of nowhere and keeps people in line through a combination of family obligation and the quiet, ever-present understanding that loyalty only goes as far as Neil decides it does. John is not alone. His girlfriend Rosie is with him. She opens the car boot and confirms the contents, money and drugs both accounted for. The driver of the car is a woman, and she has been shot. There is a child in the back seat. John looks at the wound and tells her she is lucky. She looks back at him and asks how any of this is lucky.
You got lucky. This is lucky. This is lucky.
And then, without another word, he gets to work, treating the wound right there on the road, swapping the car plates so she has a clean run through to Alabama, and sending her off with one instruction. Keep your lights off until you hit the pavement. He does all of it calmly, the way someone does a thing they have done before. The child in the back seat is the reason he bothers to help at all. That says everything you need to know about John before his own story has even started. John and Rosie have been living on a rural property in Mississippi long enough to know it is not the life either of them wanted, and not long enough to have saved what they need to leave. They can see their only neighbor from the window, a man across the way who spends his mornings shooting rabbits on his land. John and Rosie watch him through a telescope. His aim is very, very good. They try not to think too hard about what that means. They have a plan. One more delivery, collect their $25,000 cut, clear the debt John owes his uncle, and disappear to Oceanside. Somewhere no one can find them. Somewhere with an ocean and no history attached to either of their names. John goes to meet Neil. Neil is a hard man with no patience for failure and no sentimentality about family beyond what it can do for him. He is glad John came back from the military when he did. He tells John the next job is a big one, around $100,000, and hands him fresh car plates for the delivery. John takes them and leaves. On the drive home, a police cruiser lights him up and pulls him over. The officer who steps out is a woman named Burns. She orders John out of the vehicle, searches him for drugs, finds nothing, and behaves inappropriately with him the entire time. She has clearly done this before. She enjoys what the badge lets her do to someone in John's position. She eventually lets him go. Remember her name. Officer Burns will be back. Back home, someone makes a delivery of money to John. John tells Rosie about the delivery. She asks what their cut is on $100,000. $25, he tells her. It is enough to leave. It is finally enough. What neither of them notices is the car sitting at a distance down the road, watching the house. It pulls away without a sound. That evening, Rosie makes her case. They should take all of it. All 100,000. They could be gone tonight and never look back. John turns it over in his mind for one honest moment. Then he says no. Greed makes people unlucky. He has watched that play out too many times with too many people to think he would be the exception. 25,000. That is what they were promised, and that is what they are taking. This is the moral spine of the whole film. John is a criminal, but he is a criminal with a code. And that code, in a world where everyone around him operates purely on self-interest, is going to cost him everything. There is a knock at the door. Their neighbor Troy comes over with 2 cold beers and a casual question about some tracks he found on his property. He is easy and unhurried, the kind of friendly that develops in people who live far from everything, where warmth runs at a different frequency than it does in cities. John tells him the trash can had blown into the road and he had dragged it back up to the house. Troy accepts this without pushing, but before he leaves, he mentions in the mildest possible terms that he has a telescope. He uses it to look at his neighbors, he says. He also watches the road, and sometimes a car comes in with one set of plates and goes out later with another set entirely.
We all got our secrets. I ain't no hypocrite. I use mine for looking at my neighbors. Sometimes a car will come in light with one pair of plates, goes out heavy with another pair of plates. You do what you do, I do what I do.
Ain't that weird? We all got our secrets, Troy says. I ain't no hypocrite. That's why we live out here. Don't want to be bothered by others. He finishes his beer, says his boys will be getting home soon, tells them to come by sometime, and walks back to his property. The scene looks like a neighborly visit. It is not. Troy is not warning John about anything. He is cataloging him. He already knows exactly what happens at that house and has already decided what use it might be to him. The next morning, John tells Rosie to pack. They leave the moment he gets back from the delivery. Before heading out, he takes the telescope from the window and puts it in the bedroom. He does not want Rosie watching the neighbor anymore. They are done here. That one small act of moving a telescope is going to matter before the day is out. Rosie is still quietly turning over the idea of taking all the money. John picks up the bag and goes. Rosie goes to the bedroom to start packing. She opens the wardrobe and thinks they should honestly just buy everything new when they get to Oceanside. Start completely fresh. Then she hears a gunshot. She rushes to the window, but the telescope is gone. She goes to the room and grabs the telescope and places it behind the window. Another shot. She watches someone running across the field. The person is hit by Troy. Troy keeps striking the man with the butt of his rifle, again and again. Rosie cannot look away. Then she looks back toward Troy and realizes he has stopped. He is completely still, and he is looking directly back at her window. Rosie steps back from the glass. At Neil's compound, the handover does not go smoothly. Before John can get a word out, Neil's bodyguard grabs him from behind and slams him down onto the table. Neil has been hearing things. He has heard John was thinking about leaving town. John tells him that it makes no sense, that Neil is the only family he has. Neil watches his face and says he hears everything. He says he cannot afford dissension, not from anyone, not even from people he loves. The money changes hands and the conversation ends with nothing resolved. It sits in the air like a warning delivered with a smile. On the road home, John tries to call Rosie. She does not answer. He calls again. Still nothing. He drives faster. The house is empty. Her things are still there. She would not have left without her things. He checks the box of money, still intact. He goes to Troy's house. Troy answers and tells him Rosie came by in quite a hurry a little while ago. Pretty girls will break your heart every time, he says, and smiles. John goes back to his house. The telescope is at the window. He had put it in the bedroom himself that morning. He knows exactly where he left it. Finding it here, pointed directly at Troy's property, tells him exactly what Rosie saw before she disappeared. He spends the rest of the afternoon at that telescope, watching for movement. When he finally sees Troy's car leave the property, he picks up 2 bottles of beer as cover, walks to Troy's front door, and knocks. No answer. He calls Troy's name. Nothing. He goes in. In the front room, he finds a telescope aimed directly at his own house. Troy has been watching them the entire time they have lived here. John keeps moving. He finds a door, goes through it, and follows a staircase down into the basement. There is loud music playing, getting louder as he moves deeper. Room by room, he follows the sound until he finds the radio and switches it off. He sweeps the remaining rooms with a torch. He finds a ladder leading up and outside, files it away, and comes back down. Then he finds a room with the door slightly open. Inside is a young man covered in wounds and dried blood. This is the man Troy was beating in the field. He is barely conscious. Troy is not a curious neighbor with a telescope and a taste for cold beer. He is the patriarch of a kidnapping operation that has been running for years on this exact property, right next door to where John and Rosie have been trying to build a quiet life. His sons, Harley and Cooper, work with him. The system is simple. Find targets with money. Take someone they love. Film proof that the person is alive. Make the call. Wait for payment. John finds Rosie downstairs. She is chained and cannot get free. There are 2 other people being held. A young woman named Sarah, who is frightened but can move, and her friend Cole, who has been beaten badly enough that his legs will not hold him. John does not have his bolt cutters. He cannot break the chains barehanded. Rosie is barely holding herself together. Then the main door to the house unlocks from outside. John tells her he is going to handle whoever that is. He goes back upstairs. He finds Troy with a drink in hand, humming to himself. Troy goes to watch TV. John moves toward him from behind with a knife, about to strike. Then the front door bangs with a knock. John slips into the next room. At the door are Harley and Cooper, back from a job. Troy questions them immediately. Which one of you forgot how to tie a slip knot? He had a father ready to pay $50,000 to get his son back, and now they have nothing because the boy got loose and Troy had to kill him. Harley says he did not have to kill him. Troy says the boy saw his face. Cooper is scared. Something has shifted in him tonight. Troy takes him aside and speaks quietly. He says they never meant to hurt anyone. He says tonight they are going to get everything they have ever needed, and after tonight none of them will have to be scared anymore. He has said this to himself so many times that the words come out sounding like he means them. He tells Cooper to go downstairs and he will show him what has to be done. In the basement, Troy lays out the situation. The girl in one of the cells has a father in real estate worth $5 million. Her mother has real money, an inheritance of around $35 million. The girl downstairs is worth high 6 figures, and tonight they are going to make sure her parents understand that. The 3 of them put on masks and drag Sarah into a room set up with a chair and a camera on a tripod. They tie a rope around her mouth. Troy disguises his voice and speaks into the microphone.
This is your proof of life. Your daughter has not been ours. Yet.
This is your proof of life. As you can see, your daughter has not been harmed. Yet. If you do not do as you are instructed, you will never see her alive again. He cuts the recording and tells Cooper he did good. Cooper says nothing. When Sarah is returned to her cell, Cooper asks what happens to the other woman, Rosie. Troy says she is worth nothing and has seen too much. They will have to get rid of her like trash. He says John has no money, which means no ransom. The moment they leave, John is at Rosie's cell. He tells her things are about to get very bad very quickly. He has to get to the house and come back with the gun and the bolt cutters. He tells her there are 3 other people being held here. He is getting all of them out. He takes the basement stairs up to the backyard and crosses to his house. He grabs the gun and the bolt cutters. On the way back, he sees Troy and Harley in the yard trying to dispose of a body. The boy Troy hit earlier is dead. He hides in the trees. A police car rolls up and he steps forward to wave it down. The officer who climbs out is Burns, the same woman who stopped him on the road that morning. She walks straight to Troy and Harley at the grave, looks at the body, and kicks it in. John watches from the trees. The police are part of the gang. There is nowhere to turn. He starts backing away and walks directly into Cooper coming from behind. John grabs him. They fall together into the grave, into the dirt and the decomposed matter of all Troy's dead rabbits. They fight at the bottom of it. Cooper tries to call out for his father. John holds him down until he stops breathing. John climbs out. His gun is gone, lost somewhere in the grave during the struggle. He takes the bolt cutters and runs back to Rosie's cell. It is empty. Down the corridor, he can hear Troy and Harley with Rosie. Troy is not ready to deal with her yet. He tells Harley to clean her up first, dress her in something nice. He wants to have a naughty time with her. John goes to Cole's cell and cuts through the chain. Cole cannot walk, but John cuts him free anyway. He goes to Sarah's cell and does the same. He gets them both up the basement ladder and outside into the night air. He presses a stone into Sarah's hand and tells her exactly what to do. Count to 100, then throw the stone hard at the building. When they come out to see what happened, take Cole, get to his truck, start the engine, lights off, and wait. He makes her repeat it back. He gives her the truck key and goes back inside. Inside, Harley is with Rosie. Troy is nearby. Sarah counts to 100 and throws the stone. The impact is enough. Both of them go outside to check. John moves through the empty corridor, cuts Rosie free, and gets her moving. Outside, Harley finds Cooper in the grave. He calls his father. Troy crouches at the edge and looks down. He is heartbroken. Beside Cooper in the dirt is something that does not belong there. John's face cup. His property, his mark. Troy knows immediately. They run back inside. John and Rosie are already out through the ladder. They run for the truck. When they reach it, the tires are flat, slashed to the rim. Neil's car is sitting on the road. Neil is standing beside it. He had heard John was running. He had the tires cut and came to wait. He asks John where exactly he thinks he is going. John tries to explain. People are coming with guns. It is not what it looks like. Neil does not get the chance to form a response. A shot from Troy's direction drops Neil's bodyguard. Another catches Neil in the shoulder. A firefight erupts. Cole is shot in the chaos. Sarah takes a bullet in the shoulder. They all pile into Neil's car. Neil tries to drive them out, but takes another round behind the wheel. John slides in and takes over. Burns is on the road ahead. She fires once, and the car crashes. Burns takes control of the scene. They are dragged back into the house. Troy handcuffs Sarah inside one of the rooms. Officer Burns ties John to a bed in a room. She tells him this is old country and there is no place for weakness. Harley takes Rosie back downstairs to chain her. In her room, Sarah works her hands through the cuffs. Her wrists tear and bleed against the metal, but she gets free. In the basement, Rosie goes limp, pretending to collapse. Harley comes to check on her. The moment he is close enough, she wraps her chain around his neck and pulls. A key falls from his pocket in the struggle. She grabs it, unlocks herself, and locks the chain on him instead. She grabs the camera from the tripod. She beats Harley with it until he is still. She bursts into the room where Burns has John tied to the bed. She beats Burns the same way. Burns does not get up. Troy walks into the house and finds Sarah pointing a gun at him. She does not really know how to use it, and he can see that clearly. He takes it from her. John comes through the door at the same moment, gun on Troy, ordering him to let Sarah go. Troy throws Sarah at him and runs before John can get a clean shot. John follows and finds the tunnel Troy used, a passage through the basement to the outside. Troy has killed the lights in the building from below and locked every exit. Tear gas begins rolling in through the vents. Troy comes back up wearing a gas mask. A gun battle breaks out across the darkened house. Sarah and Rosie try the basement ladder, but the exit has been padlocked from outside. John comes at Troy from behind in the dark and hits him with the telescope. The exact same telescope Troy used to watch his house for months. Troy goes down. John tears the gas mask off him and hits him until the gun comes loose. He picks it up. Troy lies on the ground and tells John this does not end with him. He is just a middleman. There is something bigger behind all of this, and John has no idea what he has stumbled into. John shoots him mid-sentence. He finds Rosie and Sarah in the basement and gets them outside. They drag everybody on the property into the graves Troy dug for other people's families. They pour gasoline. Rosie strikes the match. By the time the police and fire department arrive, John and Rosie are already gone. Sarah is there, a kidnapping victim with a story to tell. The police question her. John and Rosie already left the scene. John carrying the box with their cut, and Rosie carrying the bag that was meant for Neil. Because Neil is in the ground and nobody on this road owes him a single thing anymore. The last images of John and Rosie on a beach. They got there. They paid a price nobody should have to pay, but they got there.